Having lost out on the Serie A title to both Inter Milan and AC Milan in recent seasons, Juventus are in the need of a slight rebuild. They've lost a fair few key players in the squad, with Chiellini going, De Ligt of course has gone to Bayern Munich, and Dybala has gone to Roma, amongst many others like Bernardeschi leaving the club, Morata's loan not being continued. There were certainly some spaces to fill in this Juventus side, and they did go ahead and sign some players. The likes of Zakaria, Bremer, Pogba, Di Maria, Locatelli. There have been plenty of incomings, but there's still work to be done in this Juventus side, and that's what we'll be doing today. We're going to be doing a realistic rebuild of Juventus, adding a few extra players to the squad and seeing if we can become the dominant force in Italy once again. Welcome to the video everyone, I'm Jake for FMSCOUT, and today's video is going to be a semi-realistic rebuild of Juventus. I don't know exactly how much money Juve are going to spend, I don't know if they're going to bring in a ton of players or no more, but I am going to try and fill some gaps in this Juventus team with some sensible transfers. And speaking of sensible transfers, this video is heavily influenced by the sensible transfers video that Tifo did on Juventus, so shout out to Tifo, check them out on YouTube if you haven't already. Juve are likely going to play a 4-3-3 next season, and I've tried to replicate that in Football Manager. I haven't got the exact roles and everything that Allegri is going to use, nor the exact tactical instructions. I've just gone for a generic Football Manager 4-3-3, and we're mainly just going to focus on signing players for those positions, for those roles, and not get too bogged down in the tactical details. So I'm going to be identifying signings for 3 key positions in this Juventus side, that is left back, centre back, and also one of the forward facing players, particularly someone coming off that left-hand side. But before we get into all of that, just a few quick things. If you do enjoy this video, smash the like button, it really will help in supporting the channel. And we haven't actually made one of these realistic rebuilds before. It's going to be a shorter format of a rebuild, so if you do enjoy it and want to see more, let us know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment down below who you'd like to see rebuilt next. And if you could give us a little bit of your time to talk about today's video sponsor, and that is Spitch. Spitch is a fantasy football platform available for people in the UK and Ireland and a few other European countries if you are over the age of 18. If you are into fantasy football, then stick around because this might be for you with a new fantasy football season just around the corner. But instead of doing a season-long format of fantasy football, which you usually see, Spitch focuses on individual weekly tournaments where you select your side for that week. There's different competitions that you can enter, some of which you can pay for to enter and some of which are free, but all have unique rewards to be won. It's really easy to get involved. All you need to do is go to the link in the description, click through, create your account. You might have to verify your identity, and then once you're on there, you can select your side as you're seeing me doing on screen. You can select your captain for bonus points. There's some really good statistical analysis within Spitch as well to help you identify the right players for your team. This is your chance to show off your fantasy football knowledge and potentially even win some prizes, and you don't have to be drawn into the full season-long length of fantasy football that can be quite challenging to keep up with for the full 38 games in a Premier League season, let's say. So I think Spitch is awesome. Check it out in the description below, and thank you Spitch for sponsoring the video. The first position that we'll be looking to improve in this Juventus side is centre-back. Now Bremer has came in to kind of replace De Ligt, but of course Chiellini has left the club, Bonucci is not getting any younger at all, and Rugani probably isn't the best. I mean, he's not the oldest, he's not the youngest, but he's never going to be a world-class centre-back, I wouldn't have thought. Maybe I'll bite my words in a few years, but it doesn't look like that's the way his career trajectory is going, so we'll be looking for a centre-back improvement. Left-back is also a position where I'll be looking for a player. Alexandro's great, but he's not getting any younger. He's in his early 30s now and probably won't be at the top of his game for another 5 or 6 years, as Juventus might want him to be. Luca Pellegrini is also a good player, but whether he can really fill that role just yet, who knows? And they also have a new signing. I believe his name is Cambiasso, who is out on loan. It's hard to judge just yet if he's going to be capable of being a first team left back for Juve, so I still think that left back position could do with some improvement. And then of course the big one, Paulo Dybala leaving does leave a space in the attacking areas, but I do think Juventus will need to replace the game time and the influence of Dybala. He's creative, he's a goal scorer, and he's not going to be easy to replace, but we're going to try and identify some sensible transfers for this side. The first position that I wanted to improve was that centre-back spot, and one of the first players that came in our scouting recommendations was Sebastian Coates of Sporting. Now, he does look good, and he does have that leadership that will be lost when Bonucci goes, and that's already been lost with Chiellini's departure, so there are definitely some positives in signing Coates, and he's absolutely brilliant in Football Manager. But his valuation for a 30-year-old, realistically, we can't spend all of our budget on one player. We need to improve in other areas. So we haven't gone for him. We've actually gone for a different target. And this one was actually in the Tifo video that I mentioned previously. And that is Manuel Akanji, the Swiss international from Borussia Dortmund. Now, I do believe he is a sensible and potentially realistic signing for Juventus here. He's good with both feet, so he can play in both the left centre-back and the right centre-back role. Physically, he's not lacking in too many areas. Maybe the height isn't the best, but outside of that, he's quick, he's strong, and he's pretty decent in the air. Mentally as well, he's very well rounded, and then technically, he's a good progressor of the ball who likes to bring the ball out of defence, and I think that's something Juve could definitely do with. And I think Akanji suits the mould perfectly because he didn't cost too much money, and at 26, his prime years are probably still ahead of him. And even though he does have a track record of a few injuries, I think he could be a great signing for this Juve side. We then tried to replace Dybala in this team. Now, he is left for Roma, and Juventus are being heavily linked with Zanolio in real life. However, we don't have a budget for him in Football Manager. He's going to cost us £80 million in this simulation, and we certainly did not have the budget. So at first, we identified Isco. He was available as a free agent, but his wage demands were super high. So instead of a former Real Madrid player, we looked at a current player by the name of Marco Asensio, a name that's familiar to many of you, I am sure, a player who is both creative and a goal threat. Now, as good as he did look, we didn't go for him, and that's purely because I'm looking for a player who can play in that left side of our 4-3-3 and cut in and score goals. Now, being a left-footed player, even though his right foot is half decent, I don't think he'd be amazing at that cutting inside job, and he's certainly more of a number 10 or a player on the right-hand side, and I'm not sure that's what we needed in our team. But in terms of someone who could fit that mould of being a direct attacking force as well as a creative player on that left-hand side, Rafa was a player that came to mind. He's 28 years old with 23 Portugal caps, playing for Benfica, and as good as he looked, it was his price point that put me off. £30 million for a 28-year-old who's not going to improve too much more, and there's probably better options out there. We decided to give it a miss. And again, the price point put us off our next target, which was Ismaila Sarr of recently relegated Watford. In Football Manager, they're asking for around £50 million for him. We didn't have that kind of money to spend on a player who undoubtedly has a lot of potential and a lot of quality, but it wasn't the right time for Sarr to join Juve. So we actually went for someone a little different, but before we get into showing you who we picked, I'd just like to let you know you can find my own channel linked in the description. On there, I do some more long-term Football Manager rebuilds as well as an ongoing series with Villarreal currently. If you want to check it out, I greatly appreciate it. We're trying to hit 10,000 subscribers over there by the start of FM23, so any support would be amazing, so please do check that out if you would like to. But the player that we actually went for on this left-hand side was Justin Kluivert of Roma. Now, Kluivert is certainly not a direct Dybala replacement. I'm not saying he has that creativity or goal threat just yet that Dybala has, but he's a player with a lot of potential, a Dutch international with 2 appearances, big boots to fill because his dad was an amazing player, and he has been on loan recently at Leipzig and Nice, which isn't shown here in his updated transfer pack. So if you do see a few discrepancies, that's why I'm using a mod basically to give me updated transfers. But he did have a decent season out at Nice in real life, and I thought he could actually make a decent player for us. He's a quick, direct player who's good with both feet, could technically play on either flank if we needed him to, but importantly, he's got a lot of room to grow, and he wasn't too expensive at around £20 million. Whether he'll have an immediate impact in this side is to be seen, but with the likes of Chiesa and Di Maria, as well as Moise Kean in the side, we can slowly introduce Kluivert to first-team football and see if he suits the Juventus mould. Our final acquisition was in that left-back spot. We were looking for a younger understudy to Alexandro, who had the potential to maybe go on to fill his boots one day, and Borna Sosa was the player that came to mind. I actually think he's underrated in Football Manager, but he had a brilliant season in real life for Stuttgart, so we've brought him along to our Juve side. The 23-year-old Croatian only cost around £7.5 million from the Bundesliga club. He's got bags of talent physically, mentally, and especially technically going forward on that left-hand side. He has the attacking threat, that Alexandro provides, and I think he could be a very good player for us. In terms of outgoings, Aaron Ramsey left the club to join Nottingham Forest for £4 million. Marco Piacca went to Rennes for just under £2 million. Rugani went to Monaco for £2 million. Right back was a place where we had some quality. Danilo and Cuadrado were our two options there, so it felt a bit pointless having Matteo De Sciglio when we needed to improve other areas, so we took around £8 million for him. In real life, Juve are being linked with departures for Rabiot and also Arthur. I decided to sell one of them in this simulation, and that was Rabiot, just because he had more interest. He's gone to Manchester United for just under £15 million, so we have made some money and it has allowed us to spend a little bit more on some of those players that we bought in. I think the depth has certainly been improved and we are now built a bit more for the future with Borna Sosa and the Kanji. That's going to help as Bonucci and Alexandro get older. The central midfield positions are stacked, and then going forward we have got a lot of talent to build around Vlahovic. Before we do go and simulate ahead though, one thing to mention is that Federico Chiesa will play a part in this simulation, despite the fact that in real life he is going to miss at least half of the next season because he has had a long-term injury. I have got the editor here and I couldn't find anything that allowed me to give him an injury, so just bear that in mind. This is now what our best 11 supposedly looks like if everybody was fit and available. Not many of our new signings come straight in, only Akanji is a part of the first team straight away, but we're certainly building for the future. We're adding depth, we're adding talent around the pitch, and I think it's going to help us, but there's only one way to find out. So let's simulate 1 year in the future to see how our Juve team gets on. And they've done it. Our Juventus team have only just scraped the title, but it doesn't matter. We are champions of Serie A, 1 point ahead of Inter Milan with 90 points overall and a far superior goal difference. AC Milan, the only other close contenders, on 84 points, but it's been an amazing season for our side. Straight away, I can see here that Vlahovic has scored 39 goals, which is very impressive in 38 league appearances. Immobile has somehow matched him on 39 goals. That's 2 goal scorers getting near enough 40 goals each, but it's been a brilliant season for our Juve side. We got knocked out in the Champions League in the quarterfinals by Liverpool. Liverpool actually made it all the way to the final and are of course a very good team, so it's not the worst game in the world to lose. We were knocked out of the Italian Cup in the quarterfinals, but we did win the Italian Super Cup at least, so that's 2 trophies won this season, and I'm sure most Juventus fans will just care about the fact that they're now back on top of that Italian football ladder. In terms of average match rating, Vlahovic was by a long distance the star of the show, but new signing Angel Di Maria, even at the age of 34, was absolutely fantastic for us, with 10 goals and 16 assists in the league alone, and that's only with 35 games played. But it's nice to see that all of our centre-backs are playing equally well, with Bonucci, Akanji and Bremer only with 0.01 average match rating separating them all. That does suggest that one day when Bonucci is done, we'll still have a good defensive partnership here of Akanji and Bremer. Realistically, Juve should probably add another centre-back on top of that later on down the line, but it's good to see them doing very well. All the other new signings did well too. Borna Sosa was fine. He wasn't called upon on too many occasions, but when he was, he did okay. We'd have to give it a couple more seasons to see if he was going to be that long-term left-back for our side, and the same probably goes for Justin Kluivert, who had a decent season for us with 4 goals and 5 assists and a decent average match rating too across 38 appearances. If you do take into account the fact that he only started 9 league games and the rest of those 38 were off the bench, then it does go to show that this guy has still got the ability and the potential to eventually reach the heights that we believe he could do here in this Juventus side. But overall, this team has done very well. Our realistic rebuild of Juventus is complete, but what I want you guys to do in the comments down below is let us know who you'd like to see next in these realistic rebuilds. We've never done too many before, but we want to know who you'd like to see next. A lot of teams have already done most of their transfer business, but if there's someone you think we should realistically rebuild, let us know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more, check out my channel linked in the description if you want to be an absolute legend, and of course check out Spitch as well, which you'll find linked down below in the description. A great fantasy football app. Thanks to them for sponsoring the video. That's everything guys, so have a great day and I'll see you next time. Thank you and goodbye.